Mashiach Kedishanu B'Mitzvotav V'Tzivanu La'asok B'Divrei Torah La'asok B'Divrei Torah La'asok B'Divrei Torah La'asok B'Divrei Torah La'asok B'Divrei Torah. So, first of all, it is dwelling in the sukkah, so we have a prayer. Please repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'shev b'sukkah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctified us with your commandments and command us to dwell in the sukkah. For how many of you is this your first time this season in a sukkah? Please repeat after me if it's your first time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, who has brought us to this moment, this season, this place. We have something called Ushpaziv, which we do every night. Tonight is Aaron's night. For those, who else is a Kohen besides me? Anyone else a Kohen? So this is our ancestors, our great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaddies. Night. Be seated, holy guest. Be seated, exalted guest. Be seated, guest, the faithful guest. Be seated in the shade of the Holy One. Blessed be He. In His presence, the Shekhinah. Abraham, Isaac. We invite Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, and David to our meal, to our sukkah, to our learning. Aaron, may it please you to bring and accompany Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, and David to our learning and to our meal. And so we want to eat in here. This is one of the few biblical commandments that we can still do the way it's been practiced for thousands of years, and that's a fabulous thing. So Monday nights will begin. Typically, we start our Monday night class, which is a Judaism 101 class, which is not 101. It's kind of like graduate study. By the end of studying, you know more than most first-year rabbinic students, but that is not starting tonight. What we're doing is about Jewish astrology. Okay, Jewish astrology is not some woo-woo thing. It is not a. It is. How many of you realize that Judaism has a very detailed astrological system? Okay, it does. I'll bring some books out to make that easier in a moment. But it has a very, very detailed system about astrology and the stars. And so the way that we study, for those of you who have not studied together before, is we go around, people read, who wants to read, and then we discuss things. So that's how we always start. So who wants to start at the top of page 1 and read? Go, Rebecca, go.
It is well attested that each nation and each city is linked to a star that advises it as to its fate. Israel, however, has a great fortune, and that God alone is its advisor, for Israel is God's portion.
So every nation and every city have stars, constellations, planets, moons that are affiliated and that intersect and affect it. Israel has also a direct relationship with God. Please continue. That's going to be important in a little bit.
A king conquered a new province, the elite of which decided that they needed to forge connections with the new rulers. Some decided to be acquainted with the dukes, others with the knights, and yet others with the ministers. The wisest amongst them declared, "I will forge a connection with the king himself." He reasoned, all the ministers, knights, and dukes change. However, the king will always remain.
This is from Midrash Rabbah, and what it's specifically teaching us is the analogy of everybody has their own relationship. Every culture, every religion, every group of people, every city, people born wherever it may be, have their own relationship with the stars that they're interconnected with, like dukes, knights, etc. Israel, the people of Israel, we deal directly with the king. So while we're aware of the power of the dukes and the knights and the nobles, we also have a direct relationship with the king. Please continue reading.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the large light to rule the day, and the small light to rule the night. And he made the stars. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw it was good. And it was evening, and then there was morning, the 4th day.
So this is with the creation part. And what's really important here is to look before even the 2 great lights are built or placed in the sky, that the lights in the firmament are there to divide the day from night as signs and for seasons and for days and for years. Our understanding of the stars is how they affect us individually, but also on a large cosmological level. Okay, is there a chair for her? Come, there's chairs in here. Come, there's a chair here. There's two chairs, come on in. So the idea is that they are signs and they are understandings, but we need to we need, or here, why don't you come sit here? Come. Well, you'll hear better, it'll be easier. Maybe I just want you close to me. Come on, sit down. Okay, come on, there you go, all right. So the idea is that this is all related. Also, it talks about these two heavenly lights that are the two great lights, the large and the small. We are a moon people. We are not a sun people. Okay? We are a moon people. The moon is intimate. Okay? The moon is lunar. Our calendar works on lunar, but we adjust it for solar. But it's really very, very intimate. And that's what Judaism is. Our relationship with God is one of intimacy. The term that is used for a deep meditation, Yehud, which means unification. Kevin, we got some chairs over here. We got more chairs. Can we get a couple more? Lexi, you guys get a couple more chairs and we'll bring them on? Thank you. So the term that is used for a deep meditation with God is called Yehud. It means unification. It's the same term that we use to describe what a groom and a bride do on their wedding evening, and I'll leave it at that. Okay. The idea that we're about intimacy. And we are a moon people. And just like you don't say to your sweetheart, come on, we're going to go. No. Come on, we're going to go take a walk in the midday sun, and it's so intimate and romantic. No, we don't do that, do we? We all say to our partner, let's go take a walk under the full moon. We are a moon people. We are very much about the stars. As an aside for just a moment. So I have a question. When does Havdalah, Shabbat begins Friday evening, right? When does Shabbat end? When is Havdalah? 3 stars in the sky. Is that how many of you were taught that? Okay, that's actually not the right answer. When the rabbi says so is the right answer. Okay. Now you think that's a joke, but it's not. It's actually from Parsha Shoftim. Let me explain. If the idea is when there's 3 stars in the sky, there's always 3 stars in the sky, aren't there? Oh, okay. So should we make the law, therefore, that when you can see 3 stars? Except what if you live in Minnesota or you live in Alaska and it's a 24-hour day? So do you just not have Havdalah? Or what if there's a storm going on and you can't see it? So the actual answer is when the rabbi says so. That actually is the answer. In Parsha Shoftim, it says in the book of Deuteronomy, it says you should go to the rabbi, to the judge of your time, and do not rabbi, to the judge of your time, and place and do what he says, left or right, right or left. So that doesn't work so well with rabbis in American Judaism. It's a shame. Okay, please continue reading.
Mount Sinai doesn't print that on the calendar.
No, they do not. They just
You shall not practice divination or soothsaying.
Book of Leviticus, it says very clearly, you shall not practice divination or soothsaying. First of all, what does that mean? It means that soothsaying and divination are real. Right? If they weren't real, why would it say you can't do them? So soothsaying is, divination is. When people throw the I Ching, how many of you know what the I Ching is? I Ching is a Chinese system. When people throw the I Ching, it is real. We're not allowed to practice it.
Why is that?
We're going to get into it. Okay, it's the same reason that we don't do divination through astrological charts. Please continue.
It was stated, Rabbi Hanina said, the planetary influence gives wisdom, the planetary influence gives wealth, and Israel stands under planetary influence. Rabbi Yochanan maintained, Israel is immune from planetary influence. Now, Rabbi Yochanan is consistent in his view, for Rabbi Yochanan said, how do we know that Israel is immune from planetary influence? Because it is said, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the nations, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the nations are dismayed at them. They are dismayed, but not Israel. Rob, too, holds that Israel is immune from planetary influence. For Rob Judah said in Rob's name, how do we know that Israel is immune from planetary influence? Because it is said, and he brought them forth from abroad. Abraham pleaded before the Holy One, "Blessed be he, sovereign of the universe. One born in my house is my heir. Not so," he replied, "but that he shall come forth out of thine own bowels." "Sovereign of the universe," cried he, "I have looked at my constellation and find that I am not fated to beget child." He said, "Go forth from, cease thy planet gazing, for Israel is free from planetary influence."
So Abraham is saying, I've looked at my stars. I'm very knowledgeable about the stars. Remember, Abraham, our patriarch, actually. Well, then we gotta keep that. Thank you so much. That's everything. Okay.
I'll be assistant.
No, it's okay. He does everything. Thank God for Orlando. We would not have a temple if it were not for Orlando. So Abraham looks to the stars and he says, "It's fated in my constellations. I am not to have children." And God says, "I'm above all the stars. Come to the boss. Pay no attention to those stars anymore. You're not under the influence of you're under planetary influence, because we can trump it. So you are influenced to a certain level, but you can always trump it." Does that make sense? Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, Rachel, all Hannah. We talked about it on the high holidays. They're not supposed to have children, yet they do, because we deal with the king, not with the dukes and ministers. Who else wants to start reading on page 2? Somebody, go, time to go.
What is thy calculation, Avram, to God regarding Israel not being controlled by planets? Because Zedek, Jupiter, stands in the west. I will turn it back and place it in the east. And thus it is written, Who hath raised up Zedek from the east? He hath summoned it for its sake.
Bottom line being that God can do anything he wants with these planets, can't he?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the piece to remember. Please continue.
From the time that the Torah was given to Israel, the Israelites were withdrawn from the rule of the stars and constellations. However, if one does not follow the ways of the Torah, he returns to be under the domain of these natural influences.
Say this again. It is an important line. Say it loudly and slowly, please.
From the time that the Torah was given to Israel, the Israelites were withdrawn from the rule of the stars and constellations. However, if one does not follow the ways of the Torah, he returns to be under the domain of these natural influences.
Okay. There are many women here, thank God. And if all the women lived together in a small village, right, you would all cycle up, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, right? We work with the full moon, with the new moon, right? We're lunar people. But the idea is that if you are, and the stars affect us, but if we are living a life of Torah, then it trumps the natural order of things. So if you're not living a life of Torah, the stars influence you. If you are, they no longer influence you.
You don't cycle together?
But that's a different issue, because I was using always the analogy. That's a one. I kind of stay out of that business. Plus, let's be clear, I don't have a lot of practical firsthand experience. Okay. Right, but the idea is that they no longer influence us in the same way. So, go on. Do we have any more handouts? Can someone share? No, you guys need one.
We can share with Steph.
No, that's 4 people for one handout. So
Someone can share with me.
here, come on. Okay. So, all right. So, it's so important that if we live a life of Torah. Now I want you to all understand something. Okay, we're good. I think we're good. Right? You guys are sharing. Okay, so you are all participating in a law that is very, very specific, that's been able to be done since the time of the Bible. This is one of the few. There's 20-some commandments that can still be observed the way they were in the Bible. Hold on 1 second. I want to read something to you. Only if you find it. Okay, so I want to read. This is an Orthodox prayer book it's called Art Scroll. It says Art Scroll Publishing, or as it's called with rabbinic students, Rabbi Art Scroll. So listen to this line, okay? This is from the traditional prayer. Master of all the worlds, may it be your will that this mitzvah of dwelling in the sukkah be reckoned before you as if I had fulfilled it in all its details and implications, as well as the 613 mitzvahs that are dependent upon it. This good deed, this mitzvah, this commandment of dwelling in the sukkah that each of you are doing right now counts as if you did all 613 mitzvah. It's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how powerful this holiday is. We are taught that every practice in Judaism can be traced back to being in the sukkah. Doesn't matter what the law is, you can track it back, because Sukkot is not just about the years of wandering. It's about the temporal quality of the spiritual world, of the physical world, and the permanent quality of the spiritual world. So right now, no one has to be under the influence of their astrological sign, do they? Because we are all doing full Torah right now, aren't we? That's how powerful this is. Please continue reading.
The edicts of the stars, that's not where I was. The
Yeah,
edicts
you're
of the
right.
stars constitute the basis of the hidden miracles mentioned in the Torah. However, the Jew, through the power of his choice and through his wailing in the way of the Torah.
It should say walking, not wailing. I apologize.
Oh, walking. Okay.
There's obviously a typo.
Well, it doesn't
should
really
be a
say
K, not
wailing
an I.
either. In the way of the Torah may rise above the astrological influences.
This is from Nachmanides. Nachmanides, how many of you know who he was? Nachmanides was a medieval commentator and a great mystic, a great theologian, who actually won there were these disputations in Spain that the church decided to have a series of debates as to which is a better religion, Catholicism or Judaism. And the judges were 3 bishops. And obviously no rabbi wanted to take on that fight, except Nachmanides did. And it was called a draw, which tells you how great this man was. Okay. And so, again, just take a look at this, right? That we transcend it all through our choice and our walking in the way of Torah. Please continue.
Open your eyes and see the lessons of the signs of the zodiac. They come to teach us that although the powers of the constellations are exceedingly great, and from the beginning of the creation their influence governs the mundane world, there is a power beyond them, the power of the Holy One, blessed be He, I think that's a B, who chose the month of scales to enact the day of judgment, when He decides the fate of His entire creation.
So again, it's the same idea of look to the stars, but don't be controlled by them. Who wants to continue reading? Go on. All right, go on. Go, Fiona, go, loudly.
Much of Jewish astrological knowledge comes from the Sefer Yetzirah, a book of mysticism that is attributed to our patriarch Abraham. It was in use by the 1st century, and by the 6th century there are numerous commentaries referring to it as source material. It is considered one of the 3 major texts of Jewish mysticism.
And excuse me while I get a copy very quickly for everyone.
Sorry for my fidgeting. It just came from all for Clint.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So this is Sefer Yetzirah, attributed to our father Abraham, written down certainly by the 1st century. When we talk about Jewish mysticism, when we talk about Kabbalah, so just a very quick lesson on Kabbalah and what it isn't. I do not like the term Kabbalah, okay? It is a misnomer. The reason it is because Judaism has always been a mystical tradition. That's what Judaism is. And from the very beginning of Judaism, there are 2 primary questions. How and why did God create the world, the universe? How and why does God sustain the universe? How and why did God create the universe is called Ma'aseh Bereshis, the workings of creation. How and why did God sustain the universe is called Ma'aseh Merkavah, the workings of the chariot, referring to the chariot in the 1st chapter of the book of Ezekiel. Okay, those are really the only 2 important questions in life, aren't they? How and why did God create it? How and why does God sustain it? And that is, so our whole tradition of Torah is all about Yechud, Devakut, unification, cleaving with God. That's what our practices do. That's what our rituals, our holidays do. And that goes back to the beginning of Judaism. Our patriarch Abraham doesn't get earlier in Judaism than that, writes this book, Sefer Yetzirah, where he talks about the different sphirot, the different energy centers. Have you ever taken a class in Jewish mysticism or Kabbalah? Okay, so you've heard some of these things. And he talks about it. And it's written, and just to give you an idea of how intense it is, the first chapter, it took 6 months for myself and a group of other rabbis we were studying, and these were not uneducated men, studying it once a week for 6 months to even get through the first chapter. Okay? It's very, very deep. It is the primary piece of text. So you have Torah, first 5 books. You have Tanakh, which is the whole Bible. You have Talmud, okay, which is the oral tradition. And then the next text you get is this and Sefer Bahir. They are the primary texts of Jewish mysticism outside of Torah, Tanakh, and Talmud. When you get to Isaac Luria, okay, Isaac Luria, called Ha'ari, the holy Rabbi Isaac, takes all of these different teachings from the workings of creation and the workings of the chariot, along with Torah and everything else, and especially a lot of Sefer Yetzirah, and he integrates them together. Okay? And that becomes what is called Lurianic Kabbalah. When people say they're studying Kabbalah, 99.99% of the time, they have no clue what they're talking about in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Because they're basing it on what they learned, that this is Kabbalah, this is Jewish mysticism. No, that's Luria's integration. To really understand things, we go back before Luria to the original text. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, and then it's not filtered through that. This is a primary text. Yes?
I was raised as a child in an Orthodox home where my mother went to Volksschule. She spoke and wrote in Yiddish and in Hebrew. Okay, very strict upbringing, I thought.
Okay.
I had a secret belief of all this, but never knew what I believed, and I was told I was a foolish little girl and not to think about it. So we never talked about it.
Talked about
Any of this.
the sukkah, the Judaism, the rabbi with the ponytail. You didn't.
I haven't been in a sukkah, Rabbi, in God knows 40 years since my
Welcome home. All right.
I have a
We have an
husband-
air mattress. You
I
want to
have
sleep
a
here?
husband that was never raised with Judaism. But
That's okay. I got an
he's
air
not
mattress. You
even
can sleep here.
tonight. He's not even here tonight. But my thing is, you're talking above my head. And I thought I knew everything there was to know about the spiritual end of life. I thought I knew nothing.
Well, I guess I'm going to see you in a lot of classes, right?
I need a lot of classes, yes.
We all
because
do.
I've never heard that Judaism even believed in it because I had a mother that told me it didn't.
Okay, so let me just
So
a little bit more on Jewish mysticism and
no,
then move on.
just one question,
Yeah.
sir. Why would, in the 40s or 50s when I grew up, why would they say that? Why
Okay, I'm
would
going to give one of the great things about studying it is we get to go off on tangents, which just so bothers me. So, I know everyone who knows me because they're laughing. So, okay, Jewish mysticism has been part of Judaism from the beginning. The idea of being unified and seeing God and experiencing God in everything and everyone. Okay? It's not even a question. What happens is after Luria, when you get into, I believe it's the late 1500s, you get this guy named Shabbatai Zvi. Okay? How many of you have ever heard of Shabbatai Zvi? Shabbatai Zvi is this very charismatic guy and arguably paranoid schizophrenic and bipolar. Okay? And he starts teaching different Kabbalistic techniques of meditation. Right? And so, look, it doesn't matter what kind of meditation you do, and my dissertation was on the spirituality of peak performance, working with athletes and executives and that. But when you change your neurochemistry into a heightened state of awareness, you will perform better. Through meditation as an example. So he would do these meditations. He'd teach people Kabbalistic meditations, and they'd have this great experience. And he'd say, Rebecca, you had this great experience, right?
Yeah.
And then he would say, that's because of me.
Oh.
And he started getting a following. And then Rebecca went to Wayne. And she said, let me teach this thing from Shabbatai Zvi. After we learned Shabbatai Zvi. From this, and he learns it, and she says, but that's because of Shabbatai Zvi. And then Wayne goes over and he teaches it to Emma. Now this goes on and on to the point that even though he's a Sephardic Jew, The vast majority of people who are following him who've never met him are Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, you with me so far? Okay. The Sultan realizes this guy's getting a little too powerful because he's got literally a couple of million followers. Okay, and he's starting to claim that he's the Messiah, and he's starting to claim, all these different things, as opposed to, no, this is our teachings, and it's your relationship with God. I got nothing to do with it. Okay, I have nothing to do with your relationship with God. I can teach you things from Judaism. I have nothing. Your relationship with God is your relationship with God. Okay, he's claiming that it's his on him. So Sultan calls Shabbatai Zvi in and says, look, and because he's not claiming he's the Messiah, he says, look, maybe you're the Messiah, maybe you're not. So I'm going to put you in jail for a while to think about it. And if you decide that you're not the Messiah, you can convert to Islam. And if you're not willing to convert to Islam and you think you are the Messiah, that's fine. We're just going to kill you. And he converts. And as a result of his disconnect and lose their faith from Judaism. One man almost destroyed all of Judaism. Okay? Especially Ashkenazi Judaism. So the Ashkenazi rabbis said, we can't have this happen again. And they create, one of the principles of Talmud is you create a fence around the Torah. Just like we have a fence here, right? So a child doesn't go flying into the pool. It's the same idea. They create a fence around it. So the rabbis said, the Ashkenazi rabbis said, you need to have 3 children, be 41, know all Torah and Talmud before you can even study any of this stuff. Which is why you were taught what you were taught. The reality is, that's older than Luria was when he died, number 1. Number 2, it's not in the Sephardic world at all. And if you look at a Sephardic prayer book, you will see meditations as part of the liturgy. When you see the name Yud, He, Vav, and He, God's holy name, the second He is drawn out, and inside there's a meditation. Actually, that you're to have while you're saying Adonai. So you were brought up in an Ashkenazi home. I'm assuming that your family, as frum as they were not from Iran. Okay? They were not from Morocco or from Yemen.
They were from Germany, Bavaria, and Ukraine.
Okay. So that's how they were brought up. It's verboten. It's forbidden. But it is the essence of Judaism, is about having Yehud, unification. What the Hasidic world did with Baal Shem Tov was to say this should be exposed in different ways as well. And so the Baal Shem Tov did that, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev. And then, as often happens, the Hasidic world, rabbis became powerful rabbis because daddy was a rabbi, which just leads to corruption. And that's what destroyed the Hasidic world in the end of the 19th, early 20th century. So it's destroying the Hasidic world today, too.
The Hasidic world is destroyed because of
Because you start getting rabbis, and they were literally called Hasidic courts.
what were they?
Courts, like a royal court, yeah. And it was kiss my ring kind of thing.
My great grandfather was a Hasidic.
So it changed more and more. And again, we have that problem today. It's some of the Hasidic groups that, the rabbi has 7 children and they all become rabbis and they have no idea what they're doing, but they know how to donate, how to do fundraising. So that was a long explanation of why you didn't know this. Okay. So did that help anyone else here?
Yes,
Okay. See, so it wasn't just you. Okay. No, thank you. Someone who was reading, I'm totally lost now because when I go on tangents, I get lost. That's why it took us 40 years to get through that damn desert. Go ahead.
Eliezer the Modiite said that Abraham possessed a power of reading the stars, for which he was much sought after by the potentates of East and West.
Okay. So he understood the stars. I want to explain something that comes. The source is this book, but also other things in Torah. One of my teachers is a man named Rabbi Avraham Greenbaum, who lives in Israel. He lived in Jerusalem for many years now. Lives in Sfat. Reb Avraham is one of the 2 co-founders of the Breslov Research Institute, which is the organization that in the 80s started bringing the teachings of Rebbe Nachman into English and doing translations. And I once brought him to a temple that I was at in Beverly Hills, and he gave a lecture for 3 hours. And I think that myself and Yuval Ron were the only people who understood it. Because he cross-correlated based on this text, like our father Abraham. The months of the year, the letters of the alphabet, the constellations in the sky, the seasons of the year, the energy centers of the body, the 10 commandments, the 22 pathways that connect our souls, our bodies. Oh, I'm not done. The chromatic notes of a scale, 12 notes of a chromatic scale. And he crossed and overlaid all of them together. And it was fabulous. And I realized it was just, unless you had knowledge of both music and a lot of Judaica, it was lost. But the point is that Abraham knew all that. He could touch everything and see how the stars interact with each person. And so he's much sought after by the kings and rulers of his area. Please continue reading, Fiona.
In Sefer Yetzirah, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet are split up. 3 mother letters, Aleph, Mem, Shin, corresponding to air, fire, water.
The head, the belly, and the chest.
Right. 7 double letters, called Beged Kafarta.
Beged Kafarta, Bet Gimel Dalet He, Bet Gimel Dalet He, Fe Resh Tav. And that should be a kaf, not a hey. I'm sorry. Fe Resh Tav. Each of whom can have a. So, how many of you read Hebrew? Okay, so some letters you can put a dot in them, and they change the sound, right? And that's true with all of them. It's just we don't do it with all of them. We do it with K and Fe. A dot makes it from a F to a P, and we do it from vet to bet, right? The dot makes it from a V to a P. We don't typically do it with Resh, but there is a difference from R to R. So there actually is a difference in the different letters. So this book splits us up into 3 mother letters, and then it has the double letters because they can be pronounced 2 different ways. Go on, keep reading about this. Corresponding
Corresponding to air, fire, water, and the head, belly, and chest.
Yeah, we're down double.
Backwards, sorry.
It's okay.
Each of which can have a dot or dagesh inside them to change the pronunciation.
So it just to give an example, I didn't realize I forgot I had this. So this is a bet or vet, and it makes a V sound. If I go like that, it becomes B sound. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? That's the example that most people would recognize. Okay, those are called, and go on what these mean. These double letters mean. Keep going.
Corresponding to the 7 stars of Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon, and also corresponding to 7 days of the week, to 7 gates of the soul, and to wisdom, wealth,
Seed,
life, dominance, peace, and grace, and their opposites of folly, poverty, desolation, death, subjugation, war, and ugliness, and to up, down, east, west, north, south, and the holy palace in the center that supports them all.
So now we're looking at not only the stars, right? We're looking at the idea that we have Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Moon. But this also corresponds to the days of the week. What day of the week were you born? What day of the week is it? Right? And it corresponds to the letters. Which means if I change the letters, I'm changing the stars, aren't I? Does that make sense to everyone? I'm changing the equation. It's just a mathematical equation. Moreover, when we do the Etrog and the Lulav, isn't this what everyone's? We have one there. Right? What do we do when we wave them? We wave them 3 times in each of 6 directions. 3 times for the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the Neshama. The physical aspect of the soul, the mental, emotional aspect of the soul, the spiritual aspect of the soul. And we're doing it in 6 directions, north, east, south, west, above and below. Where's the 7th, the Holy Palace? Me, the person who's doing it. You've now created an entire sphere with you as the center when you do this. An entire sphere of creation. An entire universe, an entire world. It's not just 2-dimensional with a plane just north, south, east, and west. We've got above and below. Who did I lose? Come on, be honest. I didn't lose anybody? I didn't lose anybody? I'm going to pout. Okay, so now you see that when we're waving the lulav and etrog, which you can only do during the daytime, you're actually affecting the universe, aren't you? Because you're also affecting these 7 letters, those 7 stars, those 7 days of the week. Do you see how everything kind of lays onto everyone?
Now you've lost me.
Okay.
How can shaking the school out change the day of the week?
It changes with the day of the week, how it affects you. Okay, it changes your relationship to that day of the week.
In what way?
So we're going to get a little bit more into it, but the idea that the stars, we've already established that the stars influence us, unless you're living a life of Torah, in which case, doesn't matter, right? So, except you need this for the life of Torah, right? So the point is that when you're doing this, it is now your world that you are influencing, not the stars influencing your world. Does that make sense now? Does that help a little bit? Okay. That's why this is so powerful. One of the many reasons. So now we want to talk about the mother letters. We've talked about the double letters. Please continue about the 12 elementals.
And 12 elementals. Hey, Vav, Zain.
All the rest of the letters, go on.
Corresponding to speech, thought, motion, sight, hearing, action, quotient.
I think that's supposed to be, that's spelled wrong, but coition, as in,
No, quotient.
as in,
Yeah.
mom, as in, who's here? We're only concerned with that. As in husband and wife intimate activity. Stuff.
Yeah.
Smell, sleep, anger, taste, and laughter. Also corresponding to 12 constellations. Ram, Aries.
We call them Tele. We have our own names for each of the constellations. You think that these are, we talk about Aries because that's the Greek name. We have our own name. It predates those Greeks. Okay? Please go on.
Read them all.
Well, okay. The ram, the bull, the twins, the crab, the lion, all these things. Okay? Go on.
Also, the 12 months of the year.
Go on.
12 directors of the unchaste. Oh, sorry, went too far. Of the soul. 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 kidneys, gallbladder, intestines, liver, corkovan, gizzard, stomach.
The corkovan is the gizzard, the stomach. It's all the same thing.
Kiva, rennet, part of the body that induces sleep, and spleen.
Okay. So, and it's Reb Abraham, the 12 notes, chromatic notes in a scale. So, how many of you play piano? How many of you like listening to piano? How many of you know the piano is an instrument? So there's 7 white keys and 5 black keys in a scale. 12 corresponds to this as well. In Sefer Yetzirah, it specifically says what goes with what. You've got a question aching to come out.
Two questions. The black keys are the flats and the sharps. They're not keys.
They're notes.
They're notes.
C and C sharp. C sharp is a different note than C. It's a different note. I have a degree in music. Trust me, it's a different note.
Different sounds.
It's a whole different sound. Yeah, it goes da da da. Yeah, it's a whole different note. Okay, that was one question.
And the other is, what is the part of the body that induces sleep in this page?
They call it the kiva or the rennet. It's the part that is the rennet is somewhere in your intestine, I think, right?
Sleep comes from your head.
No, sleep does not come from your head. Sleep does not come from your head at all.
It's just the opposite.
Yeah, it comes from your body. My head doesn't
Your
need
head
sleep.
prevents sleep.
Yeah, your head doesn't need sleep. And so it talks about these. So it's literally in this text, which is at least 2,000 years old, and which is attributed to Abraham. So we're talking 3,700 years old, right? It corresponds. Please continue. If you look at that chart on page 4, which of these 12 letters corresponds to what quality, to what constellation, to what month, to what part of the body? It's pretty overwhelming, isn't it? Okay, that's what. Remember when I said that our system of astrology is so much deeper than anything to do with Chinese astrology, even let alone Chaldean astrology? Because our system of astrology is actually about the correlation, the cross correlation, not just of the stars, right? So you go to an astrological reader. The astrological reader says, "Okay, give me your $150," and you do. And tell me what day you were born, what time you were born, what day of the week you were born. And based on that, they do a chart. And they say, you were born under this sign. And it means that you're this quality, right? Ours goes a whole lot deeper, doesn't it? And it goes into it not just with the stars, but with the letters. What does this mean? You can change your stars. You can change your stars because you can change your name. Think about that for a minute. Since the letter corresponds to this, if I change the name, then I'm no longer influenced by that constellation. I'm influenced by this constellation. Did that make sense to everyone? Looking over, because you've got that look on your face like a question is aching to come out.
I just don't quite follow it, but okay.
So it works both ways. Go ahead.
I kind of think that then you become a very powerful person, and you're not quite fulfilling God's.
You're not under their influence. You're not under the influence of the stars. You are able to influence your own wheel, your own sphere, because you deal directly with God. The letters come from there. Okay, so let me try and make it, because if you have the question, other people have it as well. How many of you does this make? You're a little fuzzy on this. Come on. Okay. So let's just look for a moment. Okay. Let us say, we're looking in the middle of page 4. Let us say that I was born under the sign of Aries, and I want to, whatever those qualities are, I want to shift them. And my name is just the letter Hey. It doesn't even have a name, okay? My name is the letter Hey. There with me so far? If I change my name to the letter Vav, I'm no longer influenced by Aries. I'm now influenced by Taurus.
Wow.
Do you guys, did that clear up some of the fuzziness? I've changed where I stand. Here I'm in Aries, and because my name is Hey. So here I'm in Aries with speech, right? But I want to change. I don't like being this influence. So now I'm over here in Vav, and now I'm with Taurus of thought.
How do you do that? You just change your name?
You literally change your name.
Okay. Your
But you can't change your birth.
Your name. So go ahead.
There was, years ago, and you probably know the story, David Waltby, his wife had cancer. And after she was treated, she changed her name from Ellen to Ileana so that the story was, at least the way he told it, that the angel of death would pass by her and not recognize her.
We have this is a whole folktale that your parents, I guarantee you knew. That when someone is sick, change their name.
Wow.
For that exact reason. Someone is sick, you change their name, the angel of death will pass over. It's a different soul. It's a different person. Yeah.
I'm like chomping at the bit because I had a lovely opportunity to go to see the Eldridge Street Synagogue in the lower east side, and they have a beautiful mosaic tile floor. And so I was trying to find the pictures, and with all of the astrological signs, and I was like, Jews have astrological signs, and then there's they had greeting cards, so to speak, and they gave each of them a little definition of each. And now I don't feel so bad because I picked some to hang frame, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out, well, corresponding to the zodiac, because it said, like for Aleph, it also had fish, and then it was a Pisces.
Right. So for us, because I don't know these off the top of my head. So for us, Pisces is the Kuf. It's about laughter, the month of Adar, of which there are 2 periodically, and the spleen. Now, what else does this mean? It means that if, let's say, something's going on in your body, you can understand how that part of the body relates to the stars and relates to your name. So we have a congregant who streams a lot of our services. He may be streaming this class for all I know. He has 2 names. He has one name that is his birth name, and he has one name that is the name that he uses in public for different books. He's a political commentator, and this name is all under, he does all his political stuff, and this name, it's all under his doctor's name. And I was doing that. He asked me to do an astrological report for him, so I did a whole thing about his name and about how he's got the balance, because he's been writing too many books in this name. He's got to do some work in this side too, which he's now doing a lot more of, Allison.
So just to be practical in my mind, it says, like, just for Pisces, it says Adar and 2 fish swimming in opposite directions evokes fish as a symbol of good luck in the Jewish tradition because fish do not have eyelids. Their eyes are.
I wouldn't get into all those kind of.
No, that's what I mean. Is
Yeah,
that similar or nothing to do
so
with
so
it? It's just a little thing.
so
but I'm
what
just-
happens is there's what I like going back to text, okay, as opposed to other stuff, okay, and how many of you know the Sephardic custom? What do you eat at on Rosh Hashanah?
Head of a fish.
Do you know why?
Tell me.
It's the New Year. He's the head of it. David Lincoln, a terrific rabbi out of Israel now, and he said that they'd started. It was so that you should eat on Rosh Hashanah a sandwich made of lettuce, carrots, and raisins. Why? No, lettuce, carrots, and raisins. Why? Because it's an affirmation. Let us create a raisin in this new year. Okay, a raisin in the new year. So when you say the two fish, it's influence there. I would stick to this. Yes, Ed.
I'm hoping Jewish mysticism or astrology doesn't include alignment. Alignment
Meaning?
makes all astrology fake.
What do you mean alignment?
That the star is aligned with a planet
No.
that's good.
No.
Because
No, no.
everything's moved in 3,000 years.
Yeah, no. That's why this is. It's actually okay. Let's continue reading. Who wants to read? Oh, yes. Wait.
Yeah, if like take Jewish movie stars when they're asked to change their name and they change it, how does it affect?
It
their
affects,
alignment?
but it affects if they're changing, especially their Hebrew name, because we all have a Hebrew name, which is the name that God calls us by.
But if they change it for their
Most of them don't
anymore.
change
They
their
don't do it
Hebrew
anymore.
name. Danny, I don't think Danny Kaye changed whatever his Hebrew name was. I know his original name wasn't Danny Kaye.
so we're dealing with Hebrew names,
We always deal with Hebrew names because the letters, remember, are the 22 letters.
right?
Remember, this
Right.
goes into this text goes into the idea. Not that one. This text goes into the idea of the 22 letters, right?
So my parents didn't give me a Hebrew name, but I adopted it when I moved to Israel.
Okay.
Is that
Everyone has a
real?
Hebrew name. You know what your name
it
is.
for real?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And people also, they want to know if they don't know their Hebrew name. There are a lot of ways of finding out. One is whom you were named after. That has a piece in it sometimes. But there is a ritual, there is a practice that we have of how you can go and listen to hear your Hebrew name. There's that practice. For some people it's not so. And by the way, the name doesn't have to be the English correlation. So her Hebrew name may or may not be Rivka. Okay?
I did it to my English name.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily at all.
Oh, then
So
I
as an
need to start
example, one of
doing
my
that.
sons, his name is Benjamin George in English, but his Hebrew name is Benjamin Shoshan. Okay, which has no relationship. Other questions? There was another question over here. Yes.
I have to get another one.
I'm just thinking what you take when you change your name to one situation and then you change to a different situation. Can that turn into a crap? What's the word? Go from bad to worse.
Sure.
When you do that.
But there's always good. You just need to be conscious.
No, but you're making a change because you're not in a great situation. That's right. The word I was saying, crapshoot.
Yeah, if you don't know what you're changing it to. So I have a wife. Okay, some of you may know her. I'm going to face this way, and it took her 10 years to add Barclay to the end of her name. Okay, but when she did, it also changed her relationship in the universe.
How did it go for you?
Good. Right? We change things. It does change things. Okay?
Wait, I have another question.
Yes.
Then, 'cause it brings it up. When we change, the mezuzah, because for that you're having bad luck, and I'm supposed to
That's a Bubba Misa.
Okay, all right.
That's a
okay,
Bubba Misa.
all right.
Okay? If you check your mezuzahs to make
Yeah,
this,
right.
you're supposed to check your mezuzahs twice every 7 years
Right.
to make sure the scrolls are kosher. Okay? But that's a Bubba Misa. Oh, it's bad luck. Let's change our mezuzah. Actually, let me tell you what that really is. That's a scam by huckster rabbis.
Oh,
Okay, who say, "Oh, you're having problems. Let me sell you all new mezuzahs and put up mezuzahs in your house."
okay.
Okay, just like, "Oh, you're having problems in your marriage. Oh, your ketubah must not be right. Here, let me
Oh,
pay me to do another ketubah." It's a scam.
Okay.
Okay, it may not be, you may have to fix your mezuzah, but it's a bava ma'aseh.
Right.
Okay, you should always be checking. All right, let us continue on. Who wants to? I'll read this paragraph. There's a lot of discussion about the days of the week, the hours of the day, the constellations, etc., influencing people. Again, remembering that a life based in Torah invalidates all the influence of the stars. This is a brief example from the Talmud. So from Taksei Shabbat, Masechta Shabbat, page 156a. So I want you to understand that this is not the idea of stars and constellations is not separate from Judaism. It's not like, oh, it's Jewish mysticism. No, it's ingrained in our Talmud. It's ingrained in the Sefer Yetzirah. It's ingrained in Torah. Joseph has dreams, doesn't he? Who remembers Joseph's 2 dreams?
Oh, yeah.
One was sheaves of wheat, right? The 11 sheaves of wheat. What was the other one?
The cows, right?
No, that's Pharaoh's dream. He interprets.
The
What?
2 people.
No, I heard it over here.
One was the baker. And
No, that's when he's in prison. You just said it. Say it loudly.
Stars.
He tells his brothers he had a dream that
that's right.
that he was a star. Their 11 stars
Yeah.
bowed down to his,
That's what you have.
along with the moon and the sun. And they immediately understood that to mean, they immediately understood that to mean that, okay, you think that not only us 11 brothers, but also your mother and father are going to bow down to you? This goes back to Joseph. We're seeing this stuff, okay, in Torah. So what does that tell you? And we do a different class on dream interpretation. But this, let's just read for a moment from the Gemara on this is from Talmud, right? This is basic, basic teaching. Who wants to read at the bottom of page 4? Where it says it was recorded. Go, loudly.
It was recorded in Rabbi Joshua ben Levi's notebook. He who is born on the first day of the week, Sunday, shall be a man without thing. Is that right?
Without one thing in him.
One thing in him. What does without one thing in him mean? Shall we say without one virtue? Surely Rabbi Ashi said, I was born on the first day of the week. Hence it must surely mean one vice. But surely Rabbi Ashi said, I and Dimi ben Katsuta were born on the first day of the week. I am a king, and he is the captain of thieves. Rather, it means either completely virtuous or completely wicked. What is the reason? Because light and darkness were created on that day.
So light and darkness are created on day 1. If you're born on day 1 on Sunday, you're going to be perfectly virtuous, perfectly wicked, something like that. Okay? You're going to be with that one. Please continue. Keep going. That's only the first day of the week. Come on.
He who is born on the second day of the week will
Monday.
be bad-tempered.
Uh-huh.
What is the reason? Because the waters were divided thereon. He who is born...
Rather than bad-tempered, one should say hot-tempered. Okay? That doesn't mean he's bad-tempered. It just means...
He who is born on the third day of the week will be wealthy and unchaste. What is the reason? Because herbs were created thereon. He who is born on the fourth day of the week will be wise and of a retentive memory. What is the reason? Because luminaries were suspended thereon. He who is born on the fifth day of the week will practice benevolence. What is the reason? Because the fishes and the birds were created thereon. He who is born on the eve of the Shabbat will be seeker. Rabbi Nachman ben Isaac commented, a seeker after good deeds. He who is born on the Sabbath will die on the Sabbath, because the great day of the Sabbath was desecrated on his account. Rabbah, son of Rabbi Sheila, observed, and he shall be called a great and holy man.
Okay, so now the Gemara is talking about, we've already established that there's a relationship between letters, stars, music, constellations, right? All these things. And now they're saying also the days of the week. But wait, please continue.
Rabbi Hanina said to then his disciples, go out and tell the son of Levi, not the constellations of the day, but that of the hour is the determining influence. He who is born under the constellation of the sun will be a distinguished man. He will eat and drink of his own, and his secrets will lie uncovered. If a thief, he will have no success. He who is born under Venus will be wealthy and unchaste, immoral. What is the reason? Because fire was created therein. He who is born under Mercury will be of retentive memory, unwise. What is the reason? Because Mercury, is the sun's scribe. He who is born under the moon will be a man to suffer evil, building and demolishing, demolishing and building, eating and drinking that which is not his, and his secrets will remain hidden. If a thief, he will be successful. He who is born under Saturn will be a man whose plans will be frustrated. Others say all nefarious designs against him will be frustrated. He who is born under Cetic, Jupiter, will be a right-doing man, Sadkan. Rabbi Nachman ben Isaac observed, right-doing and good deeds. He who is born under Mars will be a shredder of blood, a shedder of blood. Rabbi Yashi observed, either a surgeon, a thief, a slaughterer, or a circumciser.
This doesn't mean a bad shedder of blood, right? Moil, thank God. A surgeon, thank God. Please continue.
Rabbah said, I was born under Mars. Abaya retorted, you too inflicted punishment and kill.
Because so now we're looking at our rabbis 2,000 years ago are looking at the day of the week, the hour of the day. This is a lot more detailed than the astrological report you paid for on Westwood Boulevard. Okay, who wants to continue reading? This is still Gemara.
Question.
Yeah.
What's to determine what are these the planets they're talking about?
Yes.
Well, but sometimes there are 3 planets in the sky.
Yes, but there's always a major one that you can look at a chart and you're born under. That's accepted in all astrological systems. Okay, that you do it. So, but again, it's not the alignment. It's just that's the one when you're born. That's the one that's the leader at that time. Okay, someone continue reading.
Me too.
Go.
I will. All of this is based on the structure of the universe as understood by our sages and mystics, that everything is based on 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, which were created before physical creation.
That is our belief. Our belief is the Aleph Bes was created before the physical world. And that Torah, which is composed of the Aleph Bes, was also created beforehand.
These letters make the building blocks of existence, and it is taught that both our patriarch Abraham and the
Maharal of Prague,
among others, and Talmud and other sources, were able to use these teachings to create golems, beings that lived but had no soul and would serve their master. This is the basis of both the Golem of Prague statue and the Frankenstein story. The letters, constellations, elements, and all of life are interconnected. They affect us but do not have to make us an effect. And most importantly, none of this has power over Israel, people who choose to live according to the teachings of Torah, both written and oral.
So this book, which goes into a lot of this stuff, was used by the Maharal of Prague. Who's been to Prague? Saw the statue of the golem, okay? To create a golem, a being that would protect the people. Supposedly you can create a Frankenstein, a being. Knowing if you know how to use this, I've been working on this for almost 40 years, and I'm sorry, sweetheart, I still can't figure out how to get someone to do the vacuum. Okay, because that's really, it's so intense and so deep. And so the Maharal of Prague, there's a Golem of Prague statue is the basis of that. So when we want to talk about astrology, are you starting to see how deep this is in Judaism? And we're talking about not deep like this is esoterica. This is in plain sight, right? This is in plain sight. And even if you want to say this is a little bit esoteric, well, Talmud isn't, right? Talmud is the basis of our religion. It's how you do what's in Torah. And it talks about these things. Again, the big lesson is if you live a life of Torah, which means both written and oral, that you are not at the effect of the stars. If you want to learn a little bit about the Hebrew months, this is a terrific book. I think they did 2 different things. This is a book by Reisman. It's called The Wisdom in the Hebrew Months. Goes through the different months, about different, what the different months mean, what they relate to, things like that. You can get another book called The Wisdom of the Hebrew Letters. Because do you see how for us, there's a great saying in the Tao Te Ching, which is a book of Chinese philosophy, To the person who does not know the Tao, a tree is a tree and a cup is a cup. To the student of the Tao, a tree is no longer a tree and a cup is no longer a cup. To the master of the Tao, a tree is a tree, a cup is a cup. It's just deeper. It's just deeper. Judaism is a tradition where everything is in Judaism. It's all here. How could our sages say every other culture in the universe recognizes that the moon and the stars affect humanity? How could we all of a sudden be oblivious to that? That would kind of be silly, wouldn't it? And in fact, it's the exact opposite. We look at the interconnection between all of the stars, the days, the hours, the days of the week, the hours of the day, the parts of the body, and the letters. When you saw a movie, it was with Heath Ledger. He's playing. He's a Knight's Tale. Is that what it was called? Knight's Tale. How many of you saw that movie? Okay, there's a great saying that he says he's going to change his stars. All right. Let me tell you why that's a very Jewish movie. He changes his stars because he changes his name. Right? He's this carpenter, whatever he is, and he wants to be a thank you. It's going like this. He wants to be riding on a horse and be a knight, right? But he goes under a different name and he changes his stars and he ultimately gets actually knighted. The idea is that we have the ability to change how the universe influences us. We have the ability to change it through these kind of texts, through understanding our letters, through understanding words, and we have the ability to change it by understanding that what trumps everything is Torah. We deal with the king. We don't have to deal with the dukes and the knights and the nobles. But we can if we want, because we know what actually makes them work and makes them do things. So first of all, for how many of you is this fun and interesting? How many of you was this new to even know that this kind of thing exists? Judaism is filled with this kind of stuff. It's filled with it. I mean, I'm old enough to remember newspapers. Big pieces of really cheap paper, bad print, your hands get black.
Hands get all.
And my grandmother, when she would read, one of the first things she would read in the newspaper was the little column, your sign, and this is your astrological forecast. Yeah. You guys remember that? Yes. Your grandmother did it too? Yes. Okay. Had nothing to do with astrology. It was just some random stuff. Yeah. But do you see how we really do? And we have the ability to make the difference from our names. The letters are what's so powerful and important because they literally change where our sphere is. So it doesn't change the day of the week, but it changes our relationships. I'm going to borrow you for a second. Come on up here. Because remember, we started this off saying, when does Havdalah happen? So stand right there, please. No, make it look like a big show. There you go. So right now, you are in the north. Okay? And I'm in the south, correct? If you don't move, no, don't go anywhere. You're now in the south. How'd that happen? It's all relationship, isn't it?
Right.
Does everyone get that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Because it's all relationship, when you can change the relationship, you can change reality. When you can change your relationship to this, right? You can change your reality. It's not a coincidence. I wrote an article of this years before I was a rabbi. I wrote an article for the Jewish Journal that the lulav and etrog are used the exact same way that the chanupa is used, the medicine pipe of Lakota is used. The exact same way. Same symbology, same meanings, and same practices of blowing in the directions above and below.
Wow.
Same, only instead of this a lulav and etrog, you have the bowl of the pipe and you have the stem of the pipe, the female and the male. You have the mineral world, the plant world. It's wrapped in animal skin. You are the human, and the smoke goes to the spirit world. It's the same thing. Over and over, we find these things are consonant with different indigenous cultures. Judaism is an indigenous culture. Of course we understand the stars. We have to. They were created by God. We have to. And we understand our relationship, and we can change our relationship. Just like I moved you in the south, or more specifically, I moved myself in the north. Okay? I was in the south, and then I was in the north. Through conscious changing it, we can change our stars. We can change what influences us and doesn't. And we need to remember they're beyond everything, What is the real secret of Jewish astrology? The people of Israel are not controlled by the stars. Okay? So was this worthwhile for people? Yes? Okay. We have some food and desserts and all sorts of things. So hang out on the sukkah. Now I'm going to tell you something else about the sukkah. Except it's not going to be safe if I do it. So we can turn off the camera if we can. So how many